Hello everyone and welcome back. As you can tell, it's one of those days where I'm out running a bunch of errands, but I wanted to take a few minutes to talk to you because we've been getting a lot of calls from people, message through the website. They want to use the Baker Act because they have a loved one who has some type of substance use disorder. It could be alcohol, it could be some type of recreational drugs. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you shouldn't even think about using the Baker Act to treat somebody with a substance use disorder. So let's talk about this. Number 1, the Baker Act is not designed for somebody with a substance use disorder. In fact, it specifically excludes substance use disorder as criteria. It is specifically for somebody with some form of mental illness. And so if you're trying to use it for substance use, say somebody who has an alcohol or a drinking problem, it's not what it's designed for. It's only designed for mental illness. So I'm not saying that, if you call the police, they won't Baker Act a loved one who's drinking too much. I'm just telling you that's not what it's intended for. Number 2, the Baker Act is not a treatment statute. In other words, it's not designed to treat anything. It's not even designed to treat mental illness. In fact, the whole premise behind the Baker Act is for basically emergency assessment, stabilization, and then the person is supposed to be released. So, it's not really designed to treat anything. And I've been pretty adamant and pretty vocal about the fact it is not a treatment statute. It is simply a statute that allows for emergency stabilization where somebody has a mental illness. Number three is when we are dealing with somebody who has a substance use disorder in our office, we tell clients when they call us about this that this is a year-long process, okay? We want to keep your loved one in recovery for a year. And we say a year because we know from experience, if you can keep somebody in recovery, they're more likely than not to develop the skill set they're going to need to maintain lifelong recovery. So typically we have somebody in treatment between 3 to 6 months, okay? Not 30 days, not 72 hours, 3 to 6 months, okay? And then after that, they got to work an aftercare program. They got to get a sponsor. They got to go to AA. They got to work 12 steps. They got to continue with some type of outpatient therapy, okay? Otherwise, this is just going to be an exercise in futility. And the Baker Act doesn't provide for that. In fact, the typical involuntary commitment is up to 72 hours. And then after 72 hours, one of 2 things is going to happen. Actually, one of 3, but for our purposes, let's just talk about 2 of them. Either getting out after 72 hours, well, that's not going to solve anything, or they're going to get stuck there, okay, potentially up to 6 months in a state hospital. And I promise you, that's not going to solve anything for you if your loved one has a substance use disorder. And that brings me to sort of the last, maybe the 4th option, is that the Baker Act is a statute that allows the state of Florida to take custody of your loved one, okay, which means they become, at least initially, a temporary ward of the state of Florida. What that means is that your ability to make decisions for them have been terminated. It also means their ability to make decisions for themselves have been terminated. So if you hand your loved one over to the state of Florida, and then when you call the facility, they don't want to talk to you, guess what? They don't have to, because your rights have now been terminated. You've given your loved one over on a silver platter with a bow wrapped around them to the state of Florida and said, hey, state, you take care of it. And I know that you didn't intend that. And a lot of the time that happens because somebody gave you really horrible advice and said, oh, Baker Act them. No. You don't want to Baker Act them, okay? Unless, of course, there is an immediate need for crisis intervention, i.e. they are suicidal. In which case, pick up the phone, call 911 and ask for them to get, for law enforcement to come over. Hopefully, the police will do what needs to be done and Baker Act your loved one. But it's not because there is a substance use issue. It's because there's an immediate mental health crisis. That's what the Baker Act is designed for. And in another video, I'll talk about what are the options. But the Baker Act is not one of them, okay? And I want to just be really clear about that. And having had my own family member Baker Acted and been there when it all went down, and represented about, at this point, about 500 other families whose loved ones have been improperly Baker Acted. Some of those people got Baker Acted because there was a substance use disorder. And then the family realized what had really gone on here, and they were desperate to get their loved one the help they really needed, which does not happen with the Baker Act. So I hope that clarifies things, and I appreciate you tuning in, and enjoy what's left of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.